Hello, and welcome to the Orlando World's Sunday Showdown round of 64. This week's edition comes from Universal Studios Florida, where we see the behind-the-scenes movie ride, Disaster, a major motion picture ride, starring you, versus the dark 3D motion simulator attraction, Transformers the Ride 3D. Let's take a look at both attractions. Disaster, a major motion picture ride, starring you, was a dark ride attraction which opened on the 23rd of December, 2007 at Universal Studios Florida. The attraction was based on a soundstage of a fictitious movie company. Disaster was based on the park's former earthquake, the Big One ride, which was the original incarnation of the attraction, that opened with the park on the 7th of June, 1990, and closed the 5th of November, 2007. The attraction was then remodeled slightly, where it comically illustrates how special effects are filmed for use in movies. The attraction's climax cast the riders as movie extras for a movie finale scene involving an earthquake in a subway station. Using high-speed editing techniques, the riders got to see themselves in the form of a movie trailer that included film sequences shot throughout the attraction's pre-show and main ride. Disaster, although adding a more comedic element, was still based around Universal's original ride premises of being a behind-the-scenes attraction, which was incredibly popular at the time. Transformers the Ride 3D is a very different experience. It opened on the 30th of May, 2013, at a cost of $100 million. It is often compared to the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man 3D attraction at Islands of Adventure, and also used similar ride technology to Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. The attraction opened to critical acclaim, and had only been open a mere 2 months before welcoming its 1 millionth rider, which for a theme park attraction, was very impressive. The ride centers around an area that is themed as a non-biological extraterrestrial species treaty or nest base. A series of signs and video screens are located within this area. The video screens play briefings from General Marshauer, Ironhide, and Ratchet, who explain that the Decepticons have come to Earth in search of the Allspark and are attacking the nest base in order to recover the fragment stored there. Optimus Prime concludes the briefing by introducing all of the Autobots that are featured in the ride. Towards the end of the queue, guests are given a pair of 3D glasses. Once guests arrive at the loading station, they are grouped and loaded into a ride vehicle modeled on an Autobot named Evac, whose mission is to take the Allspark to safety with navigational help from a squad of Nest recruits, the Riders. So let's now head into the first of a series of rounds to determine which of these attractions fares better statistically. Let's go straight to round 1. Disaster was a traditional special effects ride, using technology available at the time to create a lifelike, immersive attraction. It used a complex system of pulleys and hoists and various other stunt techniques, which was impressive, given that it had to have the ability to return completely to its original state within seconds, before another train entered the show scene. And also in the pre-show, giving guests a behind-the-scenes look into the trickery of movies. For an attraction based on technology from over 25 years ago, it was impressive that the ride was able to utilize this for so long, given the vast improvements in technology in other park attractions. The Transformers ride consists of motion platform-mounted vehicles which follow a 2,000-foot-long track. Throughout the ride, screens up to 60 feet high project 3D images of various Transformers characters as the Autobots attempt to protect the Allspark from the Decepticons. With the added effect of motion, the special effects are impressive and perfectly represent the film franchise, although the requirement of 3D does have its drawbacks. The computer-generated scenes on show are spectacular. But for originality when it comes to special effects, this round goes to Disaster for being an older technology. The feat of creating something realistic which can fully immerse the riders just gives the point to Disaster heading into round 2. Transformers the Ride 3D is themed incredibly well. The attraction is themed inside Production Central, where a section of the queue is a large collection of switchbacks. The later part of the queue is themed as a non-biological extraterrestrial species treaty, nest, base. A series of signs and video screens are located within this area. The ride begins with Evac moving out of the loading station and approaches the first of 13 3D high-definition video screens which depict Savage grabbing a canister containing the AllSpark. Evac reverses into one of two elevator shafts which ascend to the second level of the attraction. Evac spins 180 degrees to face the second screen on which Bumblebee is fighting sideways for the AllSpark, which ends up in Evac's possession. The last thing guests see before disembarking is the twisted wreckage of Megatron stuck on the ceiling near the exit. The attraction theming throughout is good, with some elements adding to the experience. As well as the motion-based vehicle, riders feel wind, water, hot air, fog, air blasts, vibration, and smoke to add to the immense theming for a simulation ride. When the original Earthquake attraction was revamped to Disaster, it did so because theme park guests were less familiar with the original movie. So the ride experience was rebranded as a movie studio, where guests took part in special effects videos in the pre-show which were added to the actual ride portion on screen during the tram section. The story and theme are based more around the traditional theme park behind-the-scenes attractions which were popular at the time. It gave guests a unique look at how special effects were created in movies, bringing a different dynamic to a park attraction. The use of the theming is good, as it gives guests a chance to feel like part of a film set, which is slightly different to being immersed in today's modern rides. The technology used throughout the attraction was much older than that used in the Transformers ride, and with more of a feeling of an exhibition attraction. In terms of theming and story, it doesn't quite hit the heights of the blockbuster effects and story of Transformers. So for round 2, Transformers levels the score as we head to the third round. Disaster has a fairly lengthy attraction, clocking in at approximately 25 minutes. The pre-show elements took up the majority of the time, with the train scene at the end lasting just a few short minutes. The attraction does offer a lot of value for the time, educating guests with special effects and behind-the-scenes tips, which gave them a previously undisclosed look at the magic behind the movie scenes. Transformers The Ride 3D has a duration of around 5 minutes, but lasts twice as long, taking in the QA area and briefing in the pre-show. The ride itself doesn't pass too quickly, and is fairly detailed, keeping riders immersed in a 3D world. So for the third round, for ride duration, Disaster takes the round, and goes back into the lead as we head into round 4. Disaster, and the original version of Earthquake, were fairly popular. The attraction offered a much differing experience to other rides within the parks, bringing the magic of creating movies to the guests, and allowing them to participate. However, over the years, with the rapid progression and advances in technology, new attractions, which offered seemingly more immersion and involvement for riders, along with the boom in 3D technology, had an impact on the more traditional special effects and stunt shows. Meaning attractions like Disaster were less entertaining, and less believable, and with no real disaster movie franchise to tie into, the attraction attendance numbers dwindled before it eventually closed on the 8th of September, 2015, making way for the much criticised Fast and Furious supercharged attraction. Transformers though brought an instant lift to Universal Studios in 2013, where attendance to the park initially skyrocketed, with over 1 million riders experiencing the attraction within the first several weeks. The ride has been continuously compared to the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man 3D ride at Islands of Adventure, but most park guests are more favourable to the Transformers attraction, claiming its use of 3D and better storyline are a step up from the Spider-Man ride. The ride still continues to gather larger crowds, And so, for this round, to level the score for a second time, Transformers The Ride 3D takes the point as we go into the fifth and final round. For thrill factor, Disaster as a stunt and special effects-based attraction was reasonably thrilling, particularly for younger riders or people enjoying it for the first time. The one downfall that the attraction had was that most of the effects used in the earthquake scene at the end were disclosed to riders during the pre-show, possibly taking a little bit of the thrill away, as riders knew what to expect. But for the technology used at the time, the ride accomplished a lot, and was thrilling in terms of one being of the earlier theme park rides. As a lot of the effects were created using traditional methods, with real flames, smoke and lots of flood water. It offered a somewhat fun but frightful experience to those who didn't quite expect it, as the trains rumble around violently for a short time, with lots of debris crashing all around. For an attraction that used technology developed over 2 decades before, it held up well before it eventually became less popular and closed. Meanwhile, Transformers The Ride 3D offered a different style of ride experience, taking riders deeper into worlds with the use of 3D technology. The only real criticism for the attraction is that you required 3D goggles to enjoy the ride. And although a lot of thrills happen during the ride, some of the theming around the track areas isn't as detailed as the Disaster attraction was, as the majority of the ride was spent staring at the 3D screens. However, the story and the motion which accompanied the 3D video took riders deep into the action of battling robots, in some of the best use of 3D in any theme park ride to date. The evac vehicles spin and bounce around in sync with what is displayed on screen, taking riders along with them for the thrills, so in the end, just narrowly, we think Transformers just takes the fifth and final point of the contest. So looking at the final stats, we do have a winner. Which means, sadly, we see the original special effects attraction, which entertained millions over the years, Disaster, drop out of the competition. Transformers The Ride 3D advances into the next round. Join us next time, where Magic Kingdom's Splash Mountain Log Flume Ride goes head-to-head with Universal Studios' Terminator 2, T2 3D attraction. See you next time. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please support us by subscribing to our channel. You can find us on social media platforms. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at Orlando Worlds, and on Instagram at The Orlando Worlds. Thanks for watching.